Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk about, well, in this part about education and systems to organize and to improve education, actually, and linking with the bullet journal. The bullet journal works so great because there is a system behind it. Yeah, so it's a very, it's a system that allows you to organize all your life in an enjoyable way, very structured and very well thought. So pretty much the same is what we intend to do here with education. Whenever there is a problem, we've concluded that it's never to blame the people involved. Yeah, they do what they can. Yeah, their best, but systems can fail. Yeah, so we're going to talk about something or a system that was implemented in Madrid years ago, some years ago, or well, not only in Madrid, but throughout all Spain. And right now, we finished July with a very, with an article in one of the major newspapers here in Spain, El País, that was reporting a very concerning fact that many schools are abandoning this project, the bilingual project of students being educated in English and in Spanish. So I read it, it was a big concern, and there have been voices before that alerting about the poor implementation and the poor results. I'd like to make a reflection because it kind of links with what we do here and what we can offer to our learners. It's very important that we reflect a little bit on it. So the thing is that the project of bilingual schools has proven to give very poor results for learners. Yeah. And on top of that, many of the teachers that were teaching their subject in English are deciding that it's not working. Yeah, it's not working. So we have reached, when analyzing it, we have reached certain conclusions. But before sharing them with you, I would like to hear your opinion. What do you think happens? What has happened? And what can we do to put a remedy to that? What, in your opinion, has failed? Anyone? A guess? Mari Carmen?
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Well, concerning this issue, I've seen it firsthand, and I think that very many things have failed. First of all, I have to say that in most schools, and here I'm talking private and public, both of them, the teachers that were teaching other science, for example, in English, first of all, they were not prepared because they knew about biology or they knew about science, and they haven't had the time to get prepared. They were asking them to get a B2, which most of them didn't do. Therefore, it was very hard for them to teach that language. So obviously you can't get results. That would be the one reason. Reason number two is obviously their systems failed. Their books have failed and the way their teachers failed. Why? Because for parents, if your kid comes home and they speak English, whatever is happening in the class means it's okay. But if they come from school bilingual on top of it, or so they call it, and they're speechless, they can't speak, they can't go anywhere, they can't travel, then that is a disaster and they wonder why. First of all, what do they want? And this is something that I'm actually happy. I didn't read this article, but it's quite, it's very just what's happening. Because if you have a class and you're teaching a book and your kids can't speak, 20 kids can't speak in a class, 30 kids in an hour time. So how do we expect them to speak? The systems failed completely. Books plus all the conjugations, plus all the adjectives, plus all the formulas have failed. Well, they've been failing for a long time, but at least now they've realized it. So I think that that's probably one of the main reasons, and I'm sure there are more.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm quite these were our first thoughts as well, because we've been analyzing a lot. But let me insist on that. The first and more obvious conclusion is, okay, the teachers are ill prepared, but ill prepared in what sense? Yeah, in what sense? Because these are teachers that have been teaching their subject for years. Therefore, we can think that they know their stuff. And I always try not to blame on the people, but I'm not going to give you my conclusions. I'd like to hear yours first, because it's a fair point. Teachers, yeah, teachers, and the total implementation of the system that has totally collapsed. I agree with you. Anna, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I completely agree with Mary Carmen's thought. So the teachers probably they're not prepared to teach the subject in English. They're prepared to teach the subject, but not to do it in proper English, for example. And in science, for example, there is lots of terminology that is completely different from Spanish one and so on. So there is a lot of work behind that. But what I want to emphasize that the kids are not prepared. So it was something that was super fashionable some years ago. Well, many years ago actually. So it just became part of fashion. Okay, let's go and let's introduce a couple of subjects in English. So many schools did that. But well, first of all, the kids didn't learn the subject and the kids didn't speak English. So both things failed, not only the English speaking, right, which was not the main, let's say, objective probably there. So probably the kids are not prepared because the school is not providing the enough probably facilities, the enough classes, for example, or enough preparation for kids, and also just following the fashion because it's in trend, so it's not something that's going to work for school probably. That's in my opinion. I experienced this myself because I went to a bilingual school for 2 years, probably many years ago. And
Okay.
well, it was super bad. I mean, we were having
Really?
like lots of classes in my language, and then we had like another couple of hours classes, the same classes in English, but we were just provided with a couple of magazines in English and we had to fill in the blanks, which was not the way probably the bilingual education should work. But again, it was years ago, so it's a bit.
No. But believe it or not, what was years ago still persists now, and now we have the consequence of what happened years ago. So because what happens is that right now we have more data to analyze, and you are. I mean, it's an amazing experience because you can share a first-hand experience as a learner, and you say that it didn't work for you as a learner. Yeah. Okay. So what were the subjects that you had in English?
Well, we had mostly science, we had literature, we had, well, the English literature was something that is reasonable. Plus we had math and I think biology or something like that.
And what was the
But no,
problem that you experienced there? What was the main problem? Did it have to do with the content? With what was it?
well, actually the content was fine because I learned a lot of things about science that I didn't learn in normal science classes, for example, because we covered things like aviation or something like that, right, for kids.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem was that it was all self-study, so we were just put in boxes. Everyone had lots of these type of magazines, and the idea was to do as many magazines as possible within a short period of time, right? So this would mean that we had progressed, which didn't actually. And
Mm-hmm.
the teachers were actually supporting us in terms of if we don't understand some word or if we need to go to the dictionary, so we had to raise a flag or something like that. So it was a bit of strange, but I think that we spent so many hours and we didn't take an advantage of these hours, right?
Okay. No, but it's very interesting what you mentioned, because it's kind of in the line of what we believe happens. So how about Sonia? What do you think? Because you are in Portugal, you guys have a different system there. Can you give us some insights of what happens there?
Well, I don't know exactly with the bilingual system, but listening and reading all the information about what is happening in Spain, apart from what possibly fails in the school system, in the education system, I think it's all the rest behind, because in Portugal, So even if the system doesn't work very well, we are used since we born to an English environment at home, because everything that we hear and that we listen in the TV is in English, you know. So I think that's like a complementary thing, that if school doesn't do it so well, kids are still used to do that since an early age. So they are used. And I think that is a big problem with the Spanish kids, because actually they are not used to, they don't have contact with English if the parents don't put them in contact. So I lived in Spain for 3 years, and for example, my first problem when I arrived in Madrid was, well, where am I going to watch a movie? Because all the movies are dubbed, so, and I can't even think about listening to, let's say, to a Brad Pitt speaking in Spanish. Finally, I found one. Finally, I found one that obviously was always full of Americans, because, and so that's something cultural as well. Yeah. In school, honestly, I don't have much experience. I don't know. I can't tell you, because I don't know any bilingual school and how does it work. But I think it's similar to what Elena and Mari Carmen were explaining.
Absolutely. We actually reached very similar conclusions as you guys, because in our, well, when analyzing, we can discuss whether, up to what extent it's necessary the teacher teaching that subject in English to have a certain level of English. And I'll give some examples now. I'll give you two contexts to reflect on. The first context is the American system of universities. Yeah, and you will think, oh, it's very pretentious. But what happens there is that Americans are known to attract talent, always. Yeah, they will keep those talented people. They have systems of keeping them. And in the university context, keeping talents or attracting talents means, on one hand, attracting the best teachers from all over the world, not necessarily the Americans, and giving the opportunity of the best students to go to their universities. So teachers on one hand and students on another hand. Now, can you guess who has to prove linguistic competence in order to be in an American university? Is it the teacher or the student? What do you think? Anyone? A guess?
Probably the student.
The
¿Cómo que the student?
Ah, different ideas.
Different ideas. It is actually, Mari Carmen, what do you think?
I think both. Actually, at the American school back in the States, the students had their grade, but the teachers had their grade too weekly. And they were under a lot of stress because, you know, the grade was for both. Kids were, you know, given a grade to the teacher if they're happy, if they're learning or not. And that was taken into a meeting. And in fact, teachers were extremely stressed because of that, because they had to be and give their best. And same with the students. So it went both ways. In the Lycée Français, where I studied in Belgium, the same. English schools,
this is true.
The same.
This is true.
The only place where that doesn't occur is in Spain, where the power is only on the teacher side.
This is true. Teachers are assessed everywhere. I know for a fact this is true, but not linguistically. So the only test that linguistic test that people undergo is on the student side. They have to do the TOEFL. The teachers are assessed, it's true, and they have to convey the message and teach their subject right. But I remember, well, I have a lot of examples with people around me having learned English on the go while teaching, but they were fantastic experts in their field, the best ones. So it is actually the student who has to have the linguistic skill in order to acquire another knowledge. Yeah. Therefore, the failure of the Spanish system has to do a big deal with students not being competent enough in the language, in English, so that they're able to understand the content provided by the teacher. And we can argue and we can, of course, I agree that we have to raise the linguistic competence of the teachers. It is true, yeah. And there's another debate, how much English they should know, etc., etc. But one thing is true, they know their stuff. They know their maths, they know their chemistry, they know their science, they know it. But many times it is the student that struggles a lot to understand what the teacher is saying, is explaining in English, because they are lacking linguistic competence, and on top of that learn the subject content. So what happens on the student side is that students end up memorizing. They have to learn by heart something that will be tested in an exam or in the test. So the consequence of this is, okay, this can, of course, they can improve their English. Of course they do. But they fail in both. They fail in understanding the subject, and they don't have great English either. Yeah, this is it. So Anna said it, or Mari Carmen said it, or all of you kind of suggested that first we have to raise the linguistic competence of students so that the bilingual model thrives, and not vice versa. So that is a key factor, is understanding that teachers can have even their specific pronunciation. There is another example, for instance, maybe some of you have watched the Sugata Mitra video. Do you know Sugata Mitra? He's a great educator from India. He's made an experiment with kids in India, in a very poor neighborhood. But they didn't know anything. Anything. They didn't know any English. They didn't know any mathematics. But he provided with some computers, and he gave them a task. So a task or a problem to solve. It was about an asteroid approaching the Earth, and it was supposed to collide with the Earth unless changing the trajectory, something like that. So basically, the kids had to find out whether the asteroid would collide or not, and how to avoid it, something like that. Yeah, it involved knowledge of English and knowledge of maths. They didn't have any. And on top of that, they didn't know how to use a computer. So what happened is that miraculously, he gave them some keywords, yeah, for the math problem. But what happened is that in order to solve the mathematical problem, kids first had to cope with English knowledge. So they taught themselves English. Somehow it happened. And then they were able to solve the problem. So, but watch out. First, they had to learn what they needed in English in order to understand and solve the mathematical problem. So I think that in bilingualism, we have pretty much the same. I don't know if there is anyone that has experience. I asked Mark before, because it rings a bell that your son is going maybe to a bilingual school, Mark?
No, he's just going to a regular Spanish school.
Okay.
Yeah, he's. I wish I could afford a bilingual school. Would be nice, but no. So,
Okay.
but I mean, obviously, he's had his experiences with the kind of bad English teaching that they do in schools. I mean, it seems to be a lot worse in primary school than secondary. But I mean, secondary schools here, it's just. I don't know whether it's just his school, but it's just repetition. It's just repetition and just rote learning. Just trying to remember. It's a bit like Duolingo is with learning languages. It's just remembering, but it's not really appreciating it or going any deeper into it, and it's certainly not fomenting a love of it. Of anything, not just English, but of any history or science or whatever. It's all based around these tests. I mean, with English, for example, the teacher will just spring these tests now and then, phrasal verb test, and of course it'll get a really low grade, and it's like, why did you get such a low grade on the phrasal verb test? Because it's just one of these, he can speak better than the teacher can. Yeah. But I mean, if you spring someone a phrasal verb test, You know, I mean, in England, we don't study verbs like that. We don't study grammar. I think they've started to do a bit of it now, but and I understand in America it's the same as with us. You know, we haven't studied grammar. We don't study English grammar the way that Spanish people study Spanish grammar. You know, we study. I mean, when I studied Spanish, I had to, when I was presented with all the verb tenses, I had to translate. I was translating them into French because I had no idea what they were in English. I'd studied it in French, so it made more sense in French than in my own language because I'd never seen it in English. So I would say this to students, you know, if you studied English at school, you've studied more English grammar than I have. You spent more hours actually studying English grammar than I have, and than any of the native British or American or Irish teachers. You know, it's a fact. And yet, what is that? You know, do you speak? I mean, my son speaks good English, not because he's, you know, he's good at learning the English grammar. He doesn't do so well in the tests.
It's
but
true.
He can communicate.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Mari Carmen, you've raised your hand, or that was from before?
I just wanted to add a small thing that I believe that, for example, if you study math and you have the kid at school in the math class, whether he pays attention or not, he can always go back home and study 3 hours if he wants to actually understand, etc. Whereas with English, if you don't practice it, it doesn't matter how many hours the kid goes home and reads again and again, whatever text, grammar, structures, whatever, they need to practice. So you have different levels in the same class. So there are kids that, you know, do it very well because it comes easy for them, etc. Maybe they study as well. I don't know. But what you do often find are so many different levels in the same class with the same age you know, that's a big impediment for the class to continue. The class has to have certain consistency, and because languages work differently, I think, than math or, I don't know, whatever, history.
Absolutely. So let me ask you here, what needs changing in schools, and why are we necessary? What do you think? What needs changing?
I think the bilingual school system has not really worked because, you know, sending a history teacher or a science teacher or whatever, you know, to Dublin for a 2-week course, you know, is not going to make them an English teacher, you know, and they're meant to have the first certificate, or they're meant to have the advanced or something like that, but they don't always have that, you know. Some do, but I don't think it's the majority. And the thing is, I mean, and I think the damage is done in primary school because it's probably better. And in fact, I've seen this with Dutch kids, not to have any English at all taught than to teach them with mispronunciations, grammatical mistakes, people, you know, making the same mistakes that everybody makes, and they're like teaching this stuff to kids. It's just a crime, really.
So maybe your solution is teachers to teach their subjects in Spanish. But I do believe that
I see the reason for it. It's just a good idea, very poorly executed, and it has to be poorly executed because of all the kind of laws around teachers, workers' rights and things. You know, why should they fire all their perfectly good history and science teachers if they can't speak English? You know, if they can't speak fluent English, you know, you know, these people they're not trained as English teachers, they're trained as science teachers.
Exactly. So what do we need to do? What needs changing? Who want to, I don't know, anyone else that has an idea? What can we do, for instance? What needs changing? If you had the power, what would you do? Fiona, what would you do? Georgina, go ahead.
Like my students. Because I don't know if a history teacher has to be an English teacher, as Mark was saying, but they definitely, if this has to happen, they have to be able to communicate in English perfectly, and it's not a B2. I don't think a teacher can teach in English with a B2 level. I don't think so, no way. but they should be properly trained, and that's not going to happen radically. Maybe it can happen gradually. Like as Mark was saying, we're not going to fire people because they don't know English. That would not be, appropriate if they're like really
right.
their own subject. But it can happen gradually. Right.
It will happen gradually, because it is true, because the teachers today have learned English the traditional way, with all the flaws that the system had. But what we can do today, and I firmly believe that we're very necessary, is to actually, in order to make the bilingual project happen, we need to focus on the kids. Yeah, the teachers will find their way to expressing, to conveying the message and the subject. They will find their way, better or worse. But what we can do is focus on the kids. The kids are the ones that we have to focus and increase their linguistic competence. Okay, teachers will be teaching their subjects one way or another, yeah, with a better or worse pronunciation. We know that. But the kids, if the kids are linguistically competent, yeah, this project will thrive. So kids must learn the goals of the school and in good English. Yeah, so kids are the ones that have to acquire the content that the school provides and have that good English, good understanding. We're about to go, but Fiona has raised her hand, so go for it.
Yeah, it's just quickly in support of what you're saying, because when you were just about to ask me, I was going to say that it is the kids that are important. I used to teach French in primary schools, and let's face it, if the kids of today become competent in English, they are the teachers of tomorrow, aren't they?
There you are.
If we instill a love of languages in children in primary school, that will develop in secondary. And then, as I say, they will become the teachers of tomorrow. And they will be the ones who will have that ability to, potentially do this bilingual experiment successfully in the future. That's all I wanted to say.
That is great. Thank you for that. I firmly believe that. And if the kids don't have linguistic barriers, they will understand better the content of the subject, yeah, which is they will be able to reflect, to have that critical thinking so necessary. They will be able to analyze, to make synthesis. They will be able to do practical stuff with this knowledge if they don't have the linguistic barrier. So this is the first thing that we have to work on in order to make the bilingual project successful. Okay, well, we run out of time, but I really, really appreciate this conversation. We're going to continue. And in fact, if you want to stay for the last part, you will be more than welcome. The last part is evolution of the platform. So we have Fernando here with us. That is the person that is going to make all our, or little by little, all our requests a reality. So while he's here, let's see if how he can help us. Do you have any suggestions for the platform evolution? What do you have to say here, guys? Hello to you, Fernando, first of all.
Sorry, hello everyone.
Hi. So the platform evolution, the platform is right now containing a series of functions, and we want to make it even better for you. So it has to be the digital tool that contains everything that you need for developing your business. Yeah, not only the teaching part, which of course is priority, but also the business part. What do you guys need?
I mean, something I thought I mentioned this before that would be a good idea would be the opposite of the thing where it says about free hours, that we can block hours rather than say which hours we've got free, because obviously it's much easier to block hours than say, oh, I've got all this time free, because if you know what I mean.
Yes, yes, yeah. To do it the other way around.
To do it the other way
Instead of
around would be a lot more logical. Yeah. So that you
Okay.
can say, okay, something is, you know, I've got, I have a class elsewhere that's like, you know, these hours, and so that I can just block them off. And then, because sometimes it happens that like I have some classes and then sometimes people go off and then people, I mean, luckily it's all worked out today, but I had a load of class set up today that clashed with some other classes. Now, thankfully, you know, the other students in the other places couldn't do them. But, you know, they were saying, oh, you know, can I have it next week or whatever? And that's fine. But, you know, they came back again. So if we could do that, that would be. That would be good. Yeah, yeah.
Noted. Perfect. Anything else? Anyone else? Fiona?
Hi. Yeah, this is just a simple thing, but at the moment, we don't appear to have the ability to actually share with students the target language from an activity. We can see it when we're doing the preparation, but when we're actually delivering the class, there doesn't seem to be a method of actually sharing that screen that has the target language. And I've often thought it would be really nice to be able to consolidate the learning of a student, to be able to show them that, because, you know, quite often there are some really lovely descriptions of the target language. And on that note, I must say, this is kind of like a bit of a general moan here, that I've noticed regularly that in target language, often there's a discrepancy between the description of the word that is in the target language and the examples that are given. And it's, for me, I'm thinking, you know, you might find that the target language is a noun, okay, and the example that's given is then a verb.
Okay.
And
no, I've seen that as well. I mean, when I've been doing classes, when I've been preparing or correcting activities or whatever, I often see that. And yeah, you can sometimes see something like, you know, washing, and then example, I wash my hair. And it's like, no, washing, like, you know, like do the washing or something like that. So often, I mean, one thing I've seen with the thing is you can, that's another thing, that's a good idea, to be able to delete in the thing, like sometimes, because you can delete the two of the things, but you can't delete the picture. So if you accidentally put a picture in that's wrong, you can't get rid of it. And also some other people sometimes put in pictures that are wrong.
Okay, let me show you. I will
in the target language. And also, if you put up like a voice file or a word, if you put the wrong one in, there's no way you can delete it. And I've done that loads of times. I mean, I just put another one in, but it just mounts up with the wrong thing.
Look. I'll show you this. Just bear with me. You can actually improve that or work on it. Look at. Can you see my screen, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is an activity that I have. Yeah, the first one that I have opened. The first thing that I can do is to activate the editing mode. Yeah, I click on the pencils. Now I make it editable. Yeah. So say confused, this is not what I want to show. Yeah. And you say there is no way, there is a way. Look, I click on the pencil and then all these.
Yeah, no, I know that, Radmila. I know how to do that. But I mean, when you've got like a bank of pictures there, sometimes you can put up when you're putting something in, when you're creating an activity or something, when you put in a sound file, if you put the wrong one in, you can't delete it. You can replace it with another one, but the old one is still there. It's still like in the bank.
Okay, something that, okay, so basically you are asking about being able to delete stuff. Yeah,
yes.
Right. Yes. Okay, now you can do two things.
Delete stuff with definitions and examples, but not with images and listings. You can replace them. So the student, but I mean, I'm thinking about for other teachers, because I've seen things occasionally. I've been checking some things and with a listening file, and a teacher's doing it and just think, listening file, just click it up there. And of course, maybe me or somebody else, somebody has put something in by mistake, and it's another word or something, it's something different, and I haven't checked them.
Okay, fine. So you're asking for being able to delete, we'll do that.
Yes.
But meanwhile, what you can do is, if this is not the right image,
you can replace it. Yeah, I do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you can upload a good one, for instance, or you can replace this sound and put this one.
I do that.
Better.
Yeah.
I can't. Okay. Or if
some of the recordings are really bad. I mean, I always normally, if I'm doing something, I put my own recording in. But there are a lot of recordings where you've got people speaking and they've got the television on in the background and there's somebody else speaking and there's a long pause before it comes in.
True.
And some of the recordings are terrible.
Some of the recordings are terrible, but you can filter them. Yeah,
I have.
So here,
I've replaced them.
Yeah, I'm sure you have done, and you know this very well. But maybe some other partners may not.
That's the thing. Yeah.
I'm explaining just the method, and then here you can choose the definition. You can get rid of it, and you can add your own. So it has an easy fix. It always has, and the good thing is, you will think, oh, some of the recordings are not great. All right, but there are so many. Yeah, if we look at that, there are so many resources that.
But it would be good to get rid of the bad ones. You see, so if I see one, for example, if there's a bad one, I just
you want to delete it.
To delete it. I mean, one thing is, it might have a different accent or something, but if it's just somebody who's got the television on in the background and their friends chatting and it sounds like they recorded it on the train.
Rubbish. Cool. Okay, so all you want is to be able to delete. Fantastic. Okay. But so I will. This is what will go to my notes and to Fiona.
Yeah, but listenings and images, because I know we can do the other two.
Images and listenings. Yeah. Okay, noted.
Okay,
all right.
So yes. Radmila, thank you for going through that, because I wasn't aware of how to edit that target language. Now that I know that I can do that, I could make the appropriate changes. And then is it easy to save? I'm looking for where you save the change you've made.
Yeah, it's automatic. Look, I'm going to insert another as an example. For instance, I'm going to go for the word teacher. So first of all, we look whether we check whether we have it, and as you can see, you have dozens of for that word in particular. So I'm going to take the first one. And here I have all these definitions and images and sound. So I'm going to go for this one, for a person who guides, whatever. Then I'm going to go for this example, and I'm going to go for this image, for instance. And then the right thing to do is to listen first to these recordings. And if this one is good, which it is, I'm going to just do it there. If I'm not happy with this word here and I want to get rid of it because it has nothing to do, then I delete it. Yeah. If you want to create something that we don't have, all right, then you have to provide the image, the example, etc. But
done a lot of that.
Yeah, in the majority of the cases, we have tons of target language items. Yeah, so it's very likely that we have it.
Okay, great, thank you, brilliant.
You're welcome. Yeah. Okay, Bev, you've raised your hand as well.
Yeah, I was just we kind of briefly covered on this last time, but is there any way of completely separating all kids' material? Because I'm finding it increasingly difficult in a kids' class, and I've had examples of where there's a piece of material in a kids' class where we're talking 6-7-year-olds, and the same piece of material has been with a P5 later in the day.
Yes, sorry, yeah. No. The answer is yes. And this year, we run a little bit behind the class plan, but this shouldn't worry you. We will be there. It won't happen this year, hopefully. Yeah. So hopefully, because the let's say that the mistake of last year was to plan for kids a pronunciation activity. And the pronunciation activities, when teachers were creating them, they were thinking adults. That's why it happens. So every time, take my word for it, every time you see an activity in kids' classes that is not appropriate, it's a pronunciation activity. But we're going to get rid of them. So I absolutely agree with you. Yeah.
Ramila, sorry, I have to
Yes.
add this something. And then we are working to add a PEGI filter to a material and something like to avoid the special adult materials in the classes
Yeah,
for kids and something like that. Okay.
that's the other thing.
So
Excellent.
we are trying to make a PEGI filter. Okay.
That's
Super.
great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Fer.
Good.
Okay, then we have Georgina.
I need the landing pages and promos in French. Is that possible?
Yes, yeah, it is. The answer is yes. So what we have to do, you need it in French, and Gergo needs it in Hungarian, and we're going to need it in other languages as well, in Arabic. So it's a little bit more complicated, but we have to enable you guys to be able to translate it quickly and easily. Yeah, which Sonia needs it in Portuguese. So this need will go in development. So the page and promo link in French. Okay, in French and other languages.
Thank you.
Cool. Okay, Paddy.
Hi guys. I was just
Hi.
wondering, Fernando, is it possible to maybe add activities while you're actually in a class, during a class? Because I've had a few occasions now where maybe I take on a class last minute. I don't have time to prepare myself, or I've kind of run out of activities from my own library that I can use, for the class. So there might only be one or two activities, or maybe we've gone through the activities faster because the student obviously works through them fast, and then I'm left without activities. And then obviously if I add them and I refresh, it doesn't always work, and unfortunately then I'm left without activities that kind of way. Is there any way of adding activities during a class? Any way of doing that?
Okay, it's possible. It's actually possible, but it's not a easy work. But it's good idea and good fix to solve too many class with this error. So I go to talk with the staff and plan to solve this issue. Okay, to make the feature. To fix the activities and add activities and something into the class.
Yeah, it's a great idea, and thank you. Yeah, it's a great idea to be able to add your own activities in class. While, yeah, noted. Perfect. Yeah, because it's a great idea because you cannot browse for activities quickly while teaching, but you can quickly find your own activities that have worked in previous classes. I like it very much. Perfect. Okay. So all in all, any more suggestions or requests? Okay, so all in all, what we're working for your information, yeah, so that you know where we stand at the moment with technology. Now we're working on the students part of the application, making it so we have two goals. First, to replicate what we have in English, to replicate it in Spanish, so that Spanish learners can also have the game in with Spanish activities. So this is one thing that we're going to do. And then we want the application to be even more appealing, engaging, attractive, so that people engage with it more time. Why do we need it? Because that way you will see a much better progress, a faster progress in your classes. So all in all, we are going to achieve that acceleration if we increase the time that people spend engaging with the app. Yeah. So this is where we are learning. If next time you have ideas for it, they will be more than welcome. But I hope to be able to explain to you more things next time. So all in all, we're going to try to synchronize a big deal what you teach with what the students reinforce, yeah, so that the acceleration is even faster. But this is it, everything will be very synchronized, what you're teaching with what the students are doing. This is our intention. Okay, so for future meetings we'll keep this this structure of growth on one hand, yeah, and education and evolution on another hand. I think that with these talks we will evolve a lot and hopefully make that open to even guests, yeah, parents, teachers, learners, whoever wants to join. So guys, this has been great. I really appreciate all your ideas. They're all noted, and I will see you next Friday. Yeah, with some of you, I will talk. Later today. So, well, that's all. Thank you, and have a great weekend.
Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Great talk, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.